Hey everyone and welcome back. My name is LetsTwitch and today on Gamers Instance we are doing episode 3 of HTML. I said last lesson we do tables, so here we are doing tables. They're pretty small and they're not all that complicated, but still they are valuable. I use them a lot for things such as navigation. I think they're pretty cool. We're not going to cover any styling on tables today because we're not doing CSS. We're staying strictly to the HTML. I will show you one form of styling that isn't very commonly used anymore, and then two other things that are kind of styling but are done with HTML, so I might as well show them as they're part of tables, and they're not altogether that difficult to understand. So I've saved it as a new document. This is called tables.html and I have it opened here, and if we refresh, well, once I save, if we refresh, we got a blank canvas. The only thing I haven't done is I haven't changed the title, but that's fine because I don't care all that much about the title, and this is annoying me. That needs to have that. Sorry, I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to that sort of thing. Okay, how do we start a table? Simple enough. Table. Yay. Now I'd recommend ending it initially because it gets annoying after a while if you forget to end it in the end, because I mean you're going to be spending a fair bit of time putting in this in the center, and it's a little bit annoying if you eventually get it to finish and you can't understand why some of it's not working because you haven't actually ended the tag. For reference, if you don't end the tag and we say we don't have that there, and we put in another tag here, it can potentially ruin things because it might think this P tag is part of the table. Not altogether the worst thing, especially for tables, but it is annoying if that sort of thing happens, and I've had it happen before, just where I have haven't properly ended a tag and it's come back, and not the worst thing, but still annoying. And how do we start a table? Well, we start off with a table row. You need to have one every time you want to make a table, and we'll also end this one immediately with /tr, table row, obviously. And then you don't have to set it out like this, you can just have no gap in between, but I like the gap. And then we're going to do a table header, different to a table data. Table header is basically just bold by default, and I think it's slightly larger, don't quote me on that. You can also do t-head apparently, but we're going to stick with th because that is just simpler. So what is our table header? Who knows? Let's do name, end th, start a new one, and phone number, or end th again. Okay, let's see what we've done. Type into this, name, phone number. Not much spacing, is there? This isn't the most genius way to do it, but it's just a quick little fix for this, is I like to do this in between each one. But it's not perfect, and I'll show you a way to get around it, but for now we'll just leave it as that because that's a good way of separating our columns for now. So, we now need to enter in some information. So we end our table row right here, and that's the end of our row, and we'll start a new row, and this one we're going to put in td, table data. It'll follow along underneath these by default, and I'll just copy paste this for time's sake. There we go. It's a little buggy because it's trying to auto detect that sort of thing. And what are we going to put in the table data? My name is LetsTwitch. Sure. We end the table data, and then we make a new one. We'll put that in. Even though we can leave it as a table header, even though because it just makes it bold, it's not important to have table data and table header on one line. They can mix. You can mix and match. Don't worry. It's just a different styling is done to it. So then we'll make a new table data, and we'll put in my phone number as 555-111, even though I type 7, not sure why, 88. Sure, that's my phone number. Feel free to call that. So we'll save, and then if we go back to this, we refresh. Yay, it's got the information. That's a table. Huzzah! Now, you're probably wondering, what comes next? Good question. How do we make this look better? For example, borders. Well, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. Now, the border isn't a commonly used bit of HTML. It's kind of on its way out ever since CSS got some pretty big updates. And it's not very much used, but it is still plausible, and I will show you it. However, it is not the greatest way of doing it. How do you do it? I'm going to show you. We want to, in our table up here, add a border. And then we do equals, and then 1. And then you want to do style equals, in quotation marks, width equals 100%. Sorry, my mistake. Because it's in quotations, you put in the, because it's a styling, you put in the colon. A little bit different. It's not very commonly used, so I had to go research this, and I'm not fluent on this because I wouldn't do it this way, but this is, worthwhile information if you ever need to do it this way. So 100% just means it'll stay at the same size. You can change that to 110%, make it 10% bigger, but we're not going to bother with that right now. And we're going to tab back, and we refresh, and it does that, make rendering our little bit there useless. So we'll remove that now. It's got no further point other than just being a placeholder before we got this. So we tap back. There we go. Not bad. Looks pretty snazzy. And that's about it for borders. You wouldn't normally do it. You'd use CSS and you do it a different way. But of course, we're not using CSS. And if you do want to do it, that's how you do it in HTML. It's not very efficient, and it's certainly not the commonly used one, and I wouldn't use it. But it's all good. And we'll get into CSS later. For now, we're just dealing with HTML. Okay, so here's the next bit. If you want to expand it across columns, I believe, you do colspan. So if we type that in, colspan equals :2, silly me, equals quotation marks 2, and we save this. Now if we do it, it now expands across 2. Of course, there's nothing here now. There's nothing under this one now because it's moved over to here, because this now takes up 2 columns. So there you go, and we'll add in, just quickly, we'll add in a copy of this so it doesn't look overly terrible. There we go. So that's your column span if you want to have it stretch multiple columns. And then you can also make it stretch rows. So if we do this, and we just paste it in here, so we have some information to go, we can change this column, we can change this table data, to row span, not row spawn, equals, in quotation marks, 2. And we Control S, and then refresh the page. See, now this one, now this one spans 2 rows, and we have the information there to go with it. Not bad, if I do say so myself. There we go. That's an interesting table. It's certainly something. Make it a bit neater. There we go. But that's it for tables. They're not overly complicated, but they are not perfect. And you can definitely do this sort of thing in CSS, but we're not going to cover that, so we're doing it in HTML. The row span, never really had a point to using that. But if you find a reason, go for it. And if you need to use your borders, then go for that as well. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the episode tomorrow.